Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our audience joining from various time zones. Thank you for joining us for this important discussion on maximizing medical device lifespan with sustenance engineering. Medical devices are crucial in healthcare and their reliability and longevity are vital for patient safety as well as the effectiveness of the treatment. All MedTech companies are focusing on extending device lifespan through their robust sustenance engineering practices, which includes lifecycle management, complaints handling, risk management, regulatory compliance, and so on and so forth. However, integrating these practices while keeping up with the advancements in the technologies, changing regulatory landscape, and global uncertainties, it's very challenging. Hence, the device manufacturers must leverage advanced solutions and strategies to maintain competitive edge. Today, our esteemed panel will share their experiences and insights on sustenance of medical devices. And I'm sure this session will provide valuable knowledge for our audience and the industry. My name is Bhavesh, and I'm heading the medical device engineering practice at Tata Elxsi. And I am honored to be your host for this session today. Let me also provide you a brief overview of Tata Elxsi. We are the design and engineering arm of $150 billion Tata Group. We are recognized for our commitment to innovation and excellence. We are also trusted growth partner for leading medtech device organizations and the pharmaceutical companies across the world. With over 2 decades of experience in serving global medtech organizations, Tata Elxsi has built strong services and solutions portfolio which adds value at every stage in the medical device lifecycle. Before we begin, I would like to extend my warm welcome to our distinguished panel members and our audience. To lead us through today's discussion, we are fortunate to have an outstanding panel of members. Their wealth of experience and dedication to innovation makes them the perfect for this particular conversation. Our speakers are Niranjan Kumar, Associate Vice President of Distributed Energy Systems as Reliance Industries. Niranjan is ex-Philips and ex-GE Healthcare. Vinay Bari, Director of Ultrasound at Philips Healthcare. Senthil Kumar, Site Leader and Senior Director, Molecular Imaging and CT Technologies at GE Healthcare. I would like to now invite our panel members to briefly introduce themselves and share their background, experiences, and expertise. So we'll get started with Niranjan. Niranjan, please introduce yourself.
So, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Niranjan Kumar, and currently, I think I am the only panel member here. Currently, I'm not from the medical background because I'm working in the new energy sector. But before joining to Reliance Healthcare, I have almost more than 20-year experience, or you can say my entire career into the healthcare, especially in the segment where X-ray is used. So I had a long association with G Healthcare where I kind of started my career as a fresher and then uh, grown to the principal engineer before changing my role towards the leadership. And then I also got associated later in my career to the Philips, where I had a wealth of experience, especially into the topic today, what we are talking into the sustaining engineering, which we will discuss more. And I hope I will be able to put some perspective in this particular topic, that how it is critical and how it is going to look in future. I also have experience of working in startup in between as a part of scan rate technology. where also I have seen the MedTech from the India point of view. So how the MedTech company, especially the Indian company, works and designs it. So although it is same line of product, but thought process and other things, and I hope that experience also will help me to put some lights on that how the sustaining engineering is critical for medtech or medical equipments in short you can say. So with this I'm looking forward. Thank you, Bhavesh.
Thank you, Niranjan. Maybe now, Vinay, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks Bhavesh for a warm welcome. My name is Vinay Bari. Currently, I'm leading R&D operations for ultrasound, and I'm Pune site lead for the ultrasound R&D. Uh, my total work experience more than 25 years. I've been part and parcel of Philips right from consumer lifestyle devices days where we were. I was part of the global R&D center for the color TV development, and thereafter on worked on multiple consumer lifestyle products design and development. And then somewhere in 2011, I started my journey in healthcare. So I was leading the NPI programs for the image guided therapy division of Philips, uh, and then moved to diagnostic X-rays, and now in ultrasound. So overall, I've seen three different modalities, and I've been managing the sustaining operations for diagnostic X-rays and now ultrasound globally since last 8+ years. Yeah, that's the overall introduction from my side. And thanks for inviting Bhavesh for this panel discussion.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Vinay. So over to you, Senthil. If you please, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Bhavesh. Good morning, good evening for everyone and my fellow panelists. I'm Senthil Kumar. I currently lead the CT Systems Engineering team, and I'm also the site leader for the value segment CT of the GE's portfolio, the GE Healthcare portfolio. I have more than 25 years of experience in engineering and technology. I started with the power sector in high power transmission. I was in the air circuit breaker design for a few years, and then moved on to consumer electronics, semiconductors. And in the last 15 years, I've been with healthcare between Philips and GE Healthcare. In Philips, I've been with image guided therapy and computer tomography, primarily designing new product as well as maintaining the IB of the systems across the globe. And currently in GE Healthcare, I'm leading the CT portfolio for value segment, and we manage the development of all the new products that gets introduced in this segment across the globe, as well as the install base systems across the globe. So that way, today's conversation would be an interesting conversation to share and learn on how we maintain these important systems for our customers. Looking forward to the conversation today, Bhavesh.
Yes, thank you, Senthil. And looking at all of your experiences, all of you bring in not only multiple domains experience, but in MedTech also, you have seen the large and very complex systems, which really needs very, very critical view from the sustenance point of view. And hence, I am totally sure that this conversation is going to be very insightful and interesting for our audiences. Uh, for information for our audience, this session is being recorded, and soon after the session, you will receive the link to the recording. So please feel free to share this link to your colleagues and friends. Also, please share your questions during this particular session. You will see Q&A widget of this particular platform. And whenever you have questions, please mention your question in that particular platform. We appreciate your presence and we look forward to an engaging, informative session. So now we will take a deep dive into this question answer session. To start with, we will set the context about sustenance engineering, and that too in the context of medical devices. And for that, I would ask each panel member to express their views on certain aspects, like how do they define medical device sustenance, or rather, how do they define sustenance engineering? Then, in context of medical, what are the typical triggers that starts the sustenance activity? What are the challenges and risks associated with medical device sustenance? And are there any methodologies, approaches that medtech industry is following to prioritize, plan, and execute these activities? And at the end, we would like to understand, how do you measure the success of sustenance from medical device perspective? What are those KPIs that you have seen the medical industry is following for measuring the success of sustenance activity? So I know that I have asked many questions, but from your perspective, please give us an overview of sustenance for the medical devices so that our audience understands this as a context, and then we move forward with the rest of the questions. So we'll start with Senthil. Then we will go to Vinay and Niranjan to express their views. And then following that, we'll move on to the rest of the question. So Senthil, may I request you to kindly put forward your views?
Sure, Bhavesh. Sustenance engineering, in my view, is, in simple terminology, is the upkeep of our systems that our customers are using for their day-to-day medical imaging and patient diagnostics. While in simple terms, we talk about it as just upkeep, when we go deep dive, this is a whole lot of innovation as well goes into it. With the advent of technologies nowadays, the products, especially the big ion systems that are developed, have a lifespan of 12 to 15 years, which is far outweighing the lifespan of electronics industry. Several of the electronics components that goes into our products, medical devices, they go obsolete much quicker than our products. So in terms of ensuring that our customers get their parts in time, we are able to maintain the systems through the life cycle of 12 years, 12 plus years. And how do we maintain the reliability of the systems across this window, as well as keep giving upgrades to the customers? Our customers is relying on the performance of the system, not as they see at the time of ordering, but because of the trust they have in the product line, that we would be able to give them upgrades that suit their requirements from time to time. I would like to give an example over here. Prior to COVID-19, some of our scanners were not used to the extent what we had seen during the times of COVID-19. Some scanners that were originally, our customers were using it for 15 to 20 patients a day, had a long stream of patients coming in COVID-19. And as manufacturers, it becomes our responsibility to ensure that the system is up and running even in those circumstances, even if the systems were originally not designed for it at the time of conception, Bhavish. So that makes the sustenance engineering a lot trickier than even new product development in a sense. Especially when you get into the customer expectations. The customer expectations also changes over a period of time. In over a decade, what is expected out of an imaging device completely changes. The kind of disease-centric procedures that were happening, let's say, a decade ago to today is completely different. But those devices need to constantly keep upgrading to keep up to the needs of the customers. As an engineering organization, it poses a lot of challenge for us in terms of upkeeping of these devices. So we constantly keep track of where are our customer feedback, uh, where are the improvement opportunities for both the medical device users as well as our patients. That becomes one of the most important KPI that we measure. In addition, we also look at the uptime of the systems. What is the number of days the system is down in a calendar year, and how can we improve over a period of time? So these are some of the important KPIs that we keep track of during the course of the year, Bhavish. So that's a very brief summary of what is a very complex engineering topic, Bhavish.
Yeah, sure. I think it gives a detailed insight. I think just to summarize, you talked about the longevity, 12 to 15 years. It's a very long period of time. And during that 12 to 15 years, the healthcare landscape is changing. Situations like COVID is demanding different kind of expectations from the system. At the same time, you cannot replace the system. Such a costly, such a big system, it cannot be replaced. You still have to maintain the customer expectations. And on top of it, the reliability, availability, these are the prime factors. I think it makes a lot of sense to hear that and understand that. Thank you, Senthil. Now I'll move on to Vinay. Vinay, could you please also share your perspective about sustenance for medical devices?
Yeah, sure, Bhavish. I think Senthil touched upon all the, and he articulated quite well. It's rarely we look at sustenance engineering and in defining the sustenance engineering, because we are in middle of everything everywhere as a part of sustenance engineering. I typically call sustenance engineering as a function. It's a breadwinner for the organization, and that is the main execution engine for any organization, especially in the medical device industry. Uh, Sustenance engineering, as we define it not only maintains the efficacy and safety and reliability of the existing products, but throughout the life cycle, there are we have to be more vigilant about constantly changing landscape on regulatory front, on the QMS front, on supply chain front. The market demands are changing, and now with the current geopolitical situation, with the tariffs coming in, the situations with respect to the production and import exports are also changing. So all these external internal factors keeps the sustenance engineering ticking throughout the organization. And if I have to really give the priority order, I always look at 3 F's of the sustenance engineering. These 3 F's are basically field, factory, and features. So if there are issues coming from multiple channels, if there are issues from the factory, issues coming from field, yes, the priority goes for the field, because the customer is asking for certain things and we need to definitely keep it at highest priority. Then comes the factory, where we have to ensure that our production line is we are taking care of the obsolescence. You talked about the COVID situation. Post COVID, definitely industry faced a lot of challenges with respect to the supply chain, components not available in the market, and components getting obsolete. How we are addressing those issues and how proactive in addressing those issues are critical from the sustenance engineering point of view. So unlike NPI, I look sustenance engineering is like 100-meter, 200-meter, 500-meter sprint cycles. But these sprint cycles are like a big marathon. It never ends. Uh, and it mainly how proactively you manage these things. See, based on my experience, I can tell you whatever you do, there is always a surprise element in the sustenance engineering, and this is part and parcel of sustenance engineering. So, I think you need to kind of have a landscape of your projects which are in the planned proactive stage, but at the same time you need to keep a elasticity in your project management, in your execution, to basically take care of these unknowns that may come from field or from factory side. So, talking about the KPIs, I typically look at different 3 to 4 KPIs, mainly from the business continuity point of view, how we are addressing the production, how we are addressing the supply chain challenges, how we are addressing the shipment issues in the factory. Customer facing KPIs typically on the customer escalations or with respect to the cost of non-quality, how we are managing the existing product lines. Of course, when it comes to the functional excellence, we need to see how effectively we are executing these programs. There has to be a backlog management, and there are agile ways of working, and how effectively we are churning out the changes and deploying it into the production as well as in the field. And talking about people, with sustenance engineering, there is always a chance that there are burnouts. So keeping the engagement of the team is also important. So it's important to focus on the people KPIs also as a part of the sustenance engineering.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Excellent view. I think you also gave a completely different view to look at the sustenance, new dimensions, FFF. It's a great terminology. I think it's a good learning for me. Field, factory, and features. This would be the three pillars to look at the sustenance. Secondly, I think you rightly mentioned that it's all ad hoc. That means while you have to be proactive, at the same time still expect uncertainty and sudden surprises, and that is what is the sustenance is all about, right? And on top of it, you mentioned about the supply chain and regulatory changes. So now I think we are getting into the complexity of multi-dimensional aspects of the sustenance. Thank you, Vinay, for bringing in these thought points. I'll move on to Niranjan. Niranjan, please put forward your views.
Hey, thank you, Bhavesh. So I think most of the aspects, or I will say, there's nothing left what Senthil and Vinay already talked about from their wealth of experience. So I will little bit take a different path to just stress on the fact that how critical is sustenance engineering. Okay. So sustenance engineering in any industry is very critical. I can tell because now I'm seeing the other industry too. But how it is different in MedTech or medical equipment. So for example, if you take a car, is the sustenance engineering is not it's critical. There is also safety and other things. But if after 5 years your engine performs little bit in degraded mode, it is okay to you, right? But in medical equipment, you cannot say that a CT after 10 years will be give you little bit degraded image, right?
Yeah.
Although it is a 10 years old CT, but you cannot go to customer and say that I will give you little bit degraded, little bit noise will be there, little bit defects is acceptable, right? So that's what I always, these things I give to my juniors. And when I talked about people, right? Because it's a very boring job, whoever works in sustainable engineering. But at times, how you motivate, because for a NPI or new product, you have to find the customer. For any good company, take GE or Philips, for any product, the customer exists today. And when I talk about customer, it's patient main and then the business, right? So anything you do, you have to be double, triple, or whatever factor you keep in mind, sure that this is not going to cause any safety issue. This is not going to cause any functional issue. However old equipment it is there, it has to work as per the specification when it was designed. There is no scope of degradation or justification that this is okay because it is old design, right? So this is what makes it different from other industry. Now, imagine just one example is coming in my mind in my previous company. There was a simple tool change. We were migrating from a old data management system called DCGP or something in the old organization to the a new PLM management, right? So we migrate all the document. It's a very simple activity. You have a BOM, you duplicate the BOM in this one, right? So because of these assumptions, we did every migration, we did the qualification, we did the verification, we did the every possible process because the company what I'm referring is very good in the process, right? And then after that, we went and saw after 3 month product started failing. Wherever this change happened, and it's very nice 3 month or 4 month product started failing. Later, I will not go detail that what all things. Later, we realized that there was one mistake in the BOM where one register got changed from 10K to 1K. And there was no test to because it performs same way, and that was killing one of the component. And unfortunately, this happened into the interventional system. Now, a interventional system can fail in 3 months wherever this change was there. You can understand the criticality and kind of escalation. Yeah, Vinay and Senthil can resonate this. If this kind of things happens in the field, what happens, right? This shows the importance of that even a bomb copying from this, what it can do. And by the time we realize 750 site were upgraded with this, although it has not however 750 site is failed, but it is upgraded. Now you see that kind of cost, it will come to the company as a proactive measure to go and change this one, right? So one is the risk to the patient, because if it fails, it's highly critical. Other is that if you go wrong, it costs huge from the cost point of view, business point of view, or sometimes it's a brand value, trust.
Yeah.
They talked about trust of the organization in the systems, right? So for me, like when I said, this is the main engineering, because your typical medical product life cycle is 15 to 20 years. You may be spending 3 to 4 years in design and launching. Rest 16 to 20 year you are maintaining, and this 20 year is a long time where the environment changes, regulation changes, design changes, technology, but product has to work same as when it was designed, and that is the biggest challenge. It cannot be better also, it has to work same as that the way it was designed, and that is the better. So for me, it is the critical element of any medtech company, and this is the decide the brand of the company, not the real product. Of course, real product also decide, but how you handle patient safety, how you handle service, and how you continue to maintain the quality and reliability of the product in the field. That's what decide the brand value of company. So, thank you. Yeah.
Sure, Niranjan. Thank you. I think very important point that you spend time around 2 to 3 years in developing the products while you keep maintaining the product, which actually earns the money for the organization for rest of the 12 to 16 years. It's a very different viewpoint. And any change during the product life cycle is not a small change. I think that's
Yeah.
what thing you
Yeah.
mentioned. That smallest register can cause a life-threatening hazard. So that means how much care that needs to be taken, what kind of processes, quality processes needs to be followed during that 12 to 15 period of years of operations of the device. I think this really gives overall perspective of the sustenance. So thanks to all three of you to bring different angles, and hope our audience have now understood. While this activity might sound like repetitive, but it is absolutely critical for patient and absolutely important for the business to survive post launch of the product. So with this, I think we will dive deep into some of the topics that you have mentioned through this particular last few minutes of conversation. So now, what we'll touch upon is the how does the user feedback and the complaints really impact the sustenance. So whenever we speak about medical devices, the the prime focus comes back always to the users and the patients. So I would like to ask Vinay now, how do the MedTech organization utilize this complaints data, service records, user feedback right throughout the product cycle? And if you could share some examples that how these feedbacks have influenced the products and the sustenance strategies. So that will give our audiences a view of looking at how the field part of your F really impacts the activities which are happening inside the R&D and the product. Yeah, please go ahead, Vinay.
Yeah, thanks, Bhavesh. I think this brings a very important topic of customer centricity. If we look at the data coming from the field, be it complaint data, service records, or user feedback, it has multiple aspects associated with it. Is my voice audible proper?
Yeah, a little bit of cracking noise is coming. Maybe you can position yourself and we will mute ourselves.
Yeah, so talking about the different areas of this data, how this data gets utilized. First and foremost, I would like to highlight the product quality and patient safety. When we look at the customer complaints, are there systems and right dashboarding available within the organization that will filter out this data and show us, are there any issues that are really threatening for the product quality as well as the safety of the patient. Many times I have seen that there are product defects that gets logged, or there is a huge complaint database that is available, but then there are no specific mechanisms that are available that will really bring out these aspects to the forefront for the engineering organization as well as for the quality organization to really look into it and take an escalation path to address this. So if you are working on these particular areas in your modality, I would advise that look at how you filter out this data and first and foremost bring the product quality and patient safety related aspects to the forefront. This is also important from the regulatory point of view. When there are auditors at our doors, they look at complaints as first data to start their investigation. So how we are managing this complaints data? Is there a proper workflow that is available in the organization? Do you have a complaint handling unit? How many complaints the complaint handling unit is addressing? How many issues that are getting passed on to the R&D for investigation? And from that investigation, are there any issues that are going into the product defect backlog that needs to be addressed as a part of your next release or next upgrade that should go into the field? And it doesn't stop there. We have to ensure that when we release this particular software or any upgrade to the field, whether that is effective enough to close these complaints and you are seeing the trends of these complaints going down. So there has to be a full loop closure. And if I look at my experience working with FDA and other audits, they look for this traceability end to end from the point where the complaint got registered till the point you have provided the solution and you have also checked that this solution is working effectively in the field. So this is important loop, and the customer complaints database serves the input for this. Another important aspect is cost of non-quality. When we are looking at the service records, if there are good service records available, we can come out with a Pareto, which will give us whether there are issues in certain hardware mechanics or the software issues. And this Pareto can be kind of drilled down to level 1, level 2 analysis, where we can really come out with the top 10 failures or top 10 failures from the quantity point of view, or top 10 failures from the value of this components point of view. And then definitely we can start and work on those projects to really address. Cost of non-quality is very important aspect, because the dollar saved is dollar earned, and if you are not spending on your warranty cost, that means you are earning that money. So this is very important and critical parameter for any business. And the service data or the service records serves as a critical input for taking necessary actions related to the cost of non-quality. I think these are the some examples of what I stated, both from patient safety, quality, from regulatory point of view, as well as from cost of non-quality point of view. This data serves important inputs and important triggers for the sustenance engineering organization to take actions and serve our patient and customers effectively.
Bhavesh, you are on mute.
I think there is an audio issue, Bhavesh, still.
Yeah.
Is this audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think three important takeaways from your information is the process and the dashboards and the mechanisms to capture this data should be in place, and there should be continuous vigilance of on this data and actions, and that brings in the regulatory as well as quality point of view, wherein you need to show that how this process is closed loop, how this data is captured, it is addressed, and it goes back to the field, and its effectiveness is also measured. So that really brings in the complete perspective on the field, as well as how does it impact a business. You can save a lot by not changing the product, by just ensuring that you are delivering the right product and maintaining the lowest failure rates in the field. So thanks for bringing this up. I will move on to the next topic related to this is regulatory part of it. So regulatory landscape is continuously evolving and changing, standards are being updated, and there is increasing demand on maintaining the transparency by the manufacturers. So here, I would like to ask Niranjan, could you help us to understand that how these regulatory changes impact the sustenance and the product during this long period of product life cycle? Also, elaborate that are there any specific strategies these organizations are implementing to manage and adopt these regulatory changes? So over to you, Niranjan.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is very thought-provoking questions, and it is such a big area. But I will try my best to answer this. There was a joke in between we used to have when I was engineer. You start designing a product, and then you put requirement, right? You put requirement. Okay, this has to meet this standard. By the time you come to release of the product, standard had changed. Okay, so point what I'm telling that this is, as you rightly said, it is evolving every day, and probably regulation is changing much more faster than that in medtech, the way technology and new product is coming. So, but in summary, if you see any times when regulation change, uh, the medical manufacturers are given typically two kind of scenario they are forced to. One is that okay, there are certain time of period or window is given so that you can comply to the new regulation, or there are, you can say, grandfather product is still existing, so they are exempted. But trust me, both are challenging. The continue to comply to the old regulation becomes much more challenging than the uh, complying to the new regulation many times. Okay, because within few years you will not have any test lab which will support you or which will give you any guidance or which will give you any services or any consultancy which will tell you that okay, you comply to the old regulations. So that becomes extremely challenging in the sustenance engineering, especially when you do any changes related to software or hardware or anything, right? Because then you need assessment. Okay, and you are exempted from this, but your worldwide infrastructure has changed, and it will be very difficult to prove. As I told in my first thing, the sustenance engineering medical equipment is all about you have to proving that it is same. It is neither better nor the inferior. It is the same. That is the one line of sustenance engineering goal. So any changes you have to prove it is same, but technology is different. The software development environment is different. Hardware landscape has changed. So, and then you need to have a certificate that it is changed, and you have to show that okay, somebody, I will give you like ISC 6161082. If somebody says there are products still complying and running, it is exempted. There are 30-year-old product, but from where you will get certification? From where you will get update? Second is, which is more relevant, that is challenging, and every company finds a way to handle that. I'm not telling it's not same, it is not same practice, but there are way they handle. But second is more thought-provoking question that how do you handle this scenario? Because once you are given uh, a time window, then what you have to do is that first thing, you kind of assess that do you need recertification or re-registration, because that's a direct impact on business, and that is the most critical thing, right? The moment either you have to go for recertification, and then some markets like EU, Canada, Brazil, China, they are very sensitive, right? So you have to go for re-registration. Then the whole exercise starts. You have to interact with the new body sometimes. Then you have to have new experience, go through that regulation, do test or analysis or justification, documented justification through the patient safety point of view, compliant history point of view, what kind of mechanism you have. I mean, you have to do tons of documentation before you go for the recertification or re-registration. That is the very critical point, right? So then what happens? There are many initiatives nowadays, companies like takes, right? Starting from design point of view to handle this kind of situations. For example, now there is a lot of stress on maintaining the design history file. This term may vary between the company, but actually there is a history of design history file, and there is a history of change management, right? So if it is well documented and the documentation format is controlled, there is a lot of stress on that, then these things becomes very easy to manage when the certain changes comes. Second aspect is there that adapting to the modular and either firmware or software or hardware or entire system. Once you follow the modular architecture and other things, that helps in, because then the risk assessment you have to do, and it goes to the particular subsystem, it goes to the particular section of the module of the software. Then the proving it that the entire product is same, the effort reduces. These are the things the MedTech company is doing. But most important thing is that a company, if they have under any umbrella, under R&D or under LCM or somewhere, a umbrella which is proactively looking, because regulation, although it is fast, but before changing, there is a lot of teasers, there are a lot of information available. So if there is a team which proactively scans that what's coming through, and then drives that very structural life cycle management change, a company which has a very vast culture of maintaining the change control board, and there is a space for not only the firefighting job, means what change has come, but also the proactive things, that space is given. Normally Vinay will agree, you see, our change board is always filled with the firefighting, what has to be done. But there are space now, people are recognizing this, that there is a need of proactive changes too, either for business or regulation or everything. So those are the aspects many company are taking, although in different name and different initiatives. Somewhere it is called live engineering, somewhere it is called LCM, somewhere it is called different name, but these are the things people are taking. And I think the more and more initiative helps to maintain the calmness when the regulation changes, because things are in control, but still there can be some surprises, and those elements has to be done. So in
Sure.
my view, this is what company has to do as a strategically to control the situation when regulation changes and continue the business.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Niranjan. I think being vigilant about what's happening in the regulation standards and continuously checking the gaps with respect to what's happening outside. I think
Yeah.
that is looks to be key. And once you know that, then the real struggle starts, and there's a massive work that goes on. I think thank you for bringing in that perspective. I'll move on to Senthil now. Senthil, I have a different question for you altogether. That is about the ESG, environmental, social, and governance aspect. This is picking up predominantly from the environmental aspect point of view. PFAS is coming in, plastic use is coming in, reusability kind of aspects, etc. How do you see that these ESG aspects drive the sustenance activities, and what are the initiatives typically across the medical industry, because medical industry uses lots of plastic, right? So in general, how ESG, device sustenance, and integrating that into the initiatives that medtech industry is taking. If you could throw some lights on that, that will be very helpful.
So ESG started small several years ago, but as time progressed, it has become integrated with the product development life cycle, Bhavesh. Now, we don't see ESG as a separate activity that we'll have to drive. As the customer expectations also grows, ESG becomes mandatory for every product. For example, um, if we are having medical devices in a town where we have spare, uh, we have only very few patients coming in a day. Uh, the power consumption of the system needs to be also kept in mind because we can't keep it on all the time. And second, when we are dealing with an emergency, we also need to power it on. So a lot of innovation has happened in the last few years, and maybe more to come in terms of how do we manage power consumption. Some of the things that I've seen products predominantly use is putting the system to a sleep mode, a quick wake up that can be useful in terms of, let's say, when we have to handle an emergency patient or a trauma care patient. The boot up time becomes quite crucial in those sort of scenarios. So a lot of investments have gone and innovations have happened on the power sector. That is on one side of the ESG. The second is also on in terms of materials usage in these products. As the requirements become much more stringent, more biocompatible materials are being used in medical device manufacturing today than what it was probably a decade ago. We have to by regulatory norms, we have to also comply to a lot of these biocompatibility tests. So that is one area which is evolving a lot. The third one is, of course, plastics, packaging, where there are different innovations which are going to resolve them. Not one resolves them all. Um, on ROHS, we have over the last decade eliminated a lot of materials which create a lot of environmental waste. So that's one. The second one, what we have also seen evolving over the period of time is how we can improve reliability of our products as well as their subsystems and parts. The better the reliability, lesser are those replacement parts. So instead of changing in a lifetime of 15 years, instead of changing some wear and tear parts 5 times, as reliability of the product goes up, the parts usage comes down, and then the scrap also comes down. So that's also another way of looking at it. The other thing which is also picking up over time is additive manufacturing. A decade ago, we never used 3D additive technology in the actual manufacturing of the products. It was predominantly used for 3D models and pre-design evaluations. But that has also changed. Now the industry is using a lot of 3D printing technology, where you can get the exact strength of a part, but not by having a solid part. It could be done in a honeycomb pattern, where the weight of the part goes down. As the weight of the part goes down, the material usage goes down, the recycling is better, and power consumption is better. So all this, I see this as a cycle, Bhavesh. As we improve one, the rest will follow. So I would always say this is heart of the design, and not necessarily an add-on that we will do at a later point in time. For example, there are also customers now whom they ask saying, hey, some of these parts fail more often. Can I get more reliable parts? And they are willing to pay more, particularly in terms of their promise to environmentally safe practices being used in the hospital. This also aids in they are able to do a better way of delivering care to the patients. Number one, and number two, it's also about how their operational costs can come down. All these are very intertwined, Bhavesh. Even the small manufacturers now has gone into a much more biodegradable materials being used for packaging. Plastics usage have been reducing. Composite usages has been changing over time. I think a lot is happening, and as the supply chain picks up, more alternate parts are also available. In fact, instead of making this an option, many of the manufacturers are also looking at it as the primary mode of manufacturing, rather than saying that as I have a design and I'm going to make it more energy efficient, or reduce the scrap. Doing that at a later point in time after the initial design is done is a futile exercise. While we design the product, I think that is when all of this have to get into the heart of the design, Bhavish.
Sure, altogether different perspective. I think this is a completely new, that how medical device organizations are adopting the 3D printing technology to not only optimize the use of material while retaining the strength and the reliability of the product. I think this is a completely new view, as well as looks that in future a lot of emphasis will be there on the material related research, how the material can be biodegradable, at the same time it is biocompatible. So this is going to, this balancing act is going to take the next direction forward in medical devices, and bringing in the ESG perspective, while the other aspects that you mentioned, power, reusability and reliability, to improve the, reduce the replacement and hence the material, etc. So thanks for all those views. Now I will take three more questions, considering the time that we have. So I will jump on to the questions which will bring in little bit futuristic view for our audience, right? And whenever we talk about future, we talk about the technology. And what I would like to ask now is, since the launch of ChatGPT, we hear a lot about generative AI, and most of the organizations are heavily investing in building their own models of generative AI. Now, maybe Niranjan, you can throw us a bit of a light on, are medtech organization integrating generative AI into the sustenance engineering or into day-to-day operations? And if it is so, how? And what are the benefits? Or if there are many yet to be addressed as a challenges, what are those challenges? So is Gen AI really coming into this particular medical device industry through sustenance? Maybe you can give us a small flavor of it. It will be really helpful.
Yeah, I think this question is, I think the moment I saw that, nothing can be better timed question because it's a buzz everywhere, right? Now people are talking AI everywhere. But in MedTech, AI is not so new also. There are lot of conceptual design, lot of conceptual application of AI is already going on, not in the sustenance engineering, but lot of as a part of imaging, as a part of the features enhancement or customer experience enhancement in different product line. Many I cannot take the name of the product or project, but that's going on. However, I will focus on the sustenance engineering. So it is not wrong to say that right now these applications is not so much used in the medtech. However, it is not like that it is not talked, because it is a regulated industry, it is audited industry. As I mentioned earlier, proving that something is same. So this is right now there is in a conservative mode, but there is a lot of scope, and people has started uh, thinking towards that. For example, simple the problem what I explained you, that bomb mistakes, right? This is a mistakes. This is not the capability issue, or this is not the, there the machines and the trained engine can do better job of duplicating your document and highlighting the change. One of the biggest challenge of sustenance energy, and I think Senthil and Vinay will agree with me, is understanding the field complaint, right? Our product is global. English is widespread, different meaning. Sometimes uh, complaint is not even understood that what is the real complaint and when it comes, right? I think this area of uh, taking either post market, whatever the feedback or complaint handling is there, bucketing the complaint in one bucket. If engine can be trained with the different language what the different field engineer knows, right? This will be a boom, right? This will help a lot in the sustenance engineering. Of course, it does not replaces the human intelligence, but going through the thousands of line where you see simple somewhere it is like blasted or somewhere it is like popped. Now if you are Indian, you don't know what is the popped or blasted, right? It may be failure of the IGVT or failure of the muscle. I'm just giving some aspects. So those kind of activity where AI can play a big role in going taking the entire data, how it is logged, and bucketizing and giving that a summarized view to the LCM engineering, right? Similarly, if you say that there are many sustenance engineering work after analyzing needs a very kind of formatted document, type document kind of things, a standard document creation, and it takes lot of time. There AI can play a big role,
Mhm.
giving a very fast outcome, so which helps. Although the review and approval process does not change, but creation of the document, there can be a great help. I'm taking very small things
Sure.
apart from that high change impact analysis. There are many times it goes through the intelligence of people, and if you see that there is a people who works for 20 years in LCM, they will give you impact analysis in one day. I think those kind of impact analysis where a very trained engine can come and add to that impact analysis and gives the impact analysis document very fast. So these are the many areas I can keep talking on this because this is a everyday talk,
Yeah.
right? How it can happen, predictive maintenance, complaint analysis. I talked failure predictions based on the data, or if you go to the supply chain, which is also a part of the sustenance engineering, demand uh, going up down, how to take proactive actions. There's
Yep.
tons of area where AI can add. That
Yep.
is my feel. So you will soon, I'm sure you will see soon these kind of things is coming. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure, Niranjan. Thank you. I think just to summarize, the generative AI can be used in a lot of activities of sustenance, probably complaints data analysis, interpretation, impact analysis, documentation creation, so that engineers can start from there on. So overall, we can say that it can hugely improve the efficiency of the sustenance activities.
Yeah.
But still today looks like it is in exploratory mode, and yet lot to be done to adopt generative AI.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I will move on to the next one. Vinay, we see that lot many devices are now connected. They keep generating the data every day in, day out. The data is related to the product performance, data is related to the clinical outcomes, and so on and so forth, service data, etc. Now, all this data is also being captured by MedTech industry. I would like to ask you, what do you think that how MedTech industry is using data analytics, AI, data analytics, all those platforms together for further advancements? Basically, how do they use the data and the tools like analytics, etc., for the futuristic perspective? If you could throw some light on that.
Yeah, sure. I think Niranjan talked a lot on this topic in the earlier question, but yeah, I'll give my perspective. And yeah, I'm sure you must have heard a concept called digital twin. A digital twin is basically is a virtual replica of the physical device or the patient model or the systems, and there we can leverage the real-time data and the simulation and coupled with the AI to get the optimized design, manufacturing, or the workflow related information from that particular device. So this particular technology can also enable us to have a more predictive maintenance,
Mhm.
personalized treatment, and accelerated innovations in the development for our patient and healthcare solutions. Uh, there are multiple aspects how you can have the sensors within the systems, especially with the critical imaging components, and acquire the data from these particular sensors to not only fix the problem reactively, but also start predicting when the certain device has degraded, or when this device will degrade, and there is a likely chance of failure in future. And before you have a doctor down situation in the hospital, you can go to the hospital, provide this data to the biomed or the hospital management, and proactively service these devices. That will avoid your doctor down situation, and also the impact on the revenue at the hospital end. Uh, of course, the remote software upgrades through the secure gateways, monitoring the workflows, and using this data for defining the use cases in future product, and focusing on the reliability studies. Basically, if you gather the data from the field, from such by remotely monitoring, which are the constantly used workflows, say in case of diagnostic x-rays, what are you taking, the chest x-rays or the extremities x-rays, or what is the percentage of this between these different anatomies that get x-rayed during a particular time of the day, or during the in particular region. So based on that, you can offer a customized solutions to that particular customer, that since this is your usage, you need this kind of mechanism, this kind of setting, this kind of workflow, where you can optimize this workflow, and eventually the you will have a higher throughput for the hospital, zero downtime, and in the end serving more patients, and also ensuring that the hospital is also having a good revenue out of it. So these are the different aspects that we can touch when we talk about using the data in real time, using the clinical outcomes in real time, and providing the solutions around it to the customers and to the field.
Yeah. So thanks, Vinay. Looks like there is a huge amount of usage of data being taken care by the medical device industry, not only to improve the reliability, to improve the availability, of course, and the performance of the device. Probably it will also do the kind of a predictive maintenance of the device. And in the future, maybe preventive care could be the next direction using this particular data. So yes, there is a long way to go, and I think thanks for these inputs. Now, Senthil, coming to you, I would last question for this particular session. I would like to ask you that how do you envision the future of medical device sustenance? Let's say from now for 1 decade or 5 years to a decade kind of a duration. You have heard lots of technologies are coming in. Considering all this happening around in the world and all the other scenarios, how do you see the or how do you paint the picture of the future?
That's an interesting question, Bhavesh. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, engineering efficiency is going to play a key role. The number of systems that are going to be maintained across the globe is going to be exploding as the world population ages. The requirements of medical devices is going to grow, and as this grows, the sustenance engineering needs to become much more efficient in terms of how we can do service, maintenance, upkeep of these systems with very minimal capacity at the lowest cost point for our customers. So several of the technologies I think will aid them. I could name three at the top of my head. One is we could move from, we talked about predictive service, but I think we are going to move from predictive to prescriptive service, wherein the devices and the AI algorithms running behind should be able to prescribe things to the customer, how to efficiently use the system to prolong the life of the system rather than burn the system's critical components in a shorter duration. I think that is one area which could evolve. The second one, I think, would be self-healing medical devices. I think there is already a talk in the industry about self-healing rather than somebody going to the site, fixing a solution, looking at various alternates. This is becoming very time-consuming and expensive for the manufacturers as well as the consumers. I think that is going to change towards self-healing systems. The third, we also talked about the additive and AI in the digital twins. Those are also going to make a big change in the coming years. In short, uh, I mean, adopting technology will be the only way to maintain systems across the globe 5 to 10 years from now. We would not be able to sustain by growing the organizations to support the sustenance activities across the globe. We have to be very creative in doing it, bringing in the right skill set, right utilization of the resources to ensure that we are able to optimally use the engineering resources availability. Niranjan also talked about if you bring a most experienced engineer, they can do an impact assessment in one day. But how many of them are we going to create in the next 10 years? We can't create them. We have to adopt technology to see how that can be replicated. I think these are some of the trends which will pick up in the next decade, and maybe by the close of this decade, might also become key in sustenance engineering.
Super. I think it gives a very broader view and the futuristic view that how these technologies will come together to really, contribute to the sustenance and maintenance activities in the future. I think it's a fantastic view. Thank you, Senthil, for sharing your thoughts. So before we close this particular session, maybe I would like to thank Niranjan, Senthil, and Vinay for your contributions for the today's session. Actually, your in-depth knowledge and thoughtful perspectives has provided a good viewpoint to our customers, and those will be really valuable inputs for them. They must have already understood the complexities and the opportunities that exist in the medtech industry through this particular discussion. I would also like to thank our audience. They have been patiently listening to our conversations, and we hope that they must have gained a lot of knowledge through this particular session. We will compile all the questions that we have received from our audiences, and the entire compilation will be provided along with the webinar link, which is the recording to this particular webinar. And we will soon, after this particular session is over, we'll soon circulate this to our audiences. So, looking ahead from the future point of view, medical device sustenance is promising but challenging. Technology continues to evolve and the regulatory landscape will also change. So, medtech organizations will have to remain agile and very, very innovative to handle these situations. And of course, basically the continuous improvement and the collaboration will be the key theme for navigating through these particular complexities of global markets and continuously changing situations. So with this, I will conclude today's session. Once again, thanking you all for joining in here, and thank you very much and have a good rest of the day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.